Coming up on Lifestyle.
I never thought about what I wanted to do. I was just already doing it. When I was 5, I wasn't a child star or anything like that, but it was all that we had.
Yeah.
So I did it, right? Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
That would be my mantra. My favorite roles are things I've done that people don't even know about. Other people they like Valley Girling, they like Big Wednesday and so forth, and I like those as well. But my favorite TV role was...
Welcome to Lifestyle, the award-winning life coaching show that helps you live your best life possible. Here's your host, Roy Ice.
Have you ever looked at someone's established career and wondered how they've stayed not just relevant, but inspired? Today's guest is the embodiment of that kind of creative longevity. From starring alongside Hollywood legends like Steve McQueen and Michael Douglas, to directing award-winning productions and championing authentic representation in film, her career is as dynamic as it is impactful. This Emmy-nominated actor reminds us that true artistry never stops evolving. Please help me welcome the extraordinary Lee Purcell. Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, have a seat here.
Thank you.
They love you. The audience loves you, Lee. But they should.
Thank
because
you.
You've had such a distinguished career.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have had just some of the most fun roles, and your career has been working with some of the most distinguished actors
that's
as
true.
well. What inspired you to get into acting in the first place?
We moved around a lot when I was a child. And at that point, we were living, I think, in Millington, Tennessee, on the naval base.
Wow.
And there was a show in Memphis called the Mid-South Talent Show. But it was, I don't know how I got on the show. I have no idea. I have no memory of that.
His parents said, "I'm driving you to the set. Let's go."
I don't know. My parents were never particularly encouraging of my doing what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, they tolerated it, I think, and thought I would do something better later.
Yeah.
You know, like being a doctor or something.
Well, maybe it was cheaper than daycare, so they drop you off at the studio.
It was cheaper because I got my first job at 3 when I was a model at 3. Wow. When we were living in Dallas at that time, and Neiman Marcus spotted me and hired me to be a toddler model. And so that was my first job, but my first on TV was when I was 5 on the Mid-South Talent Show.
Wow. What are some of your favorite roles that you've gotten to play?
People they like Valley Girling, they like Big Wednesday and so forth, and I like those as well.
Yeah.
But my favorite TV role was Long Road Home. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Probably not. But I starred opposite Mark Harmon.
Yeah.
And it was a very influential show at that time, and I was nominated for my first Emmy for that, and I played a 1930s migrant farm worker with 7 kids. And that, to me, was so deeply meaningful for me because, for a number of reasons, because that whole era, Grapes of Wrath, it really affects me emotionally. And then to get an Emmy nomination on top of it was just icing on the cake.
Yeah, because the deeper meaning was you were saying something that you really wanted to say.
I really wanted to say it. And also because I knew that my great uncles and my great-great-grandmother had migrated to California from the middle of the country during the Dust Bowl because there was no work and there was nothing they could do. So they all migrated and stayed. And so for me, that was, I even get emotional now about it, but it was like, wow. Yeah.
Times have changed how Hollywood views and even treats female actors.
I wish.
What is different now than when you were young, breaking in?
Well, it hasn't changed enough.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not enough. Women have to equally play the leads in films, important roles. And then, of course, there's not enough women directors. I think it needs to be more parity. And there's always needed to be more parity, even though, women, and I don't think a lot of people really know this, but women started the film industry.
Really?
Yeah, they did. And there's a movie about that two friends of mine who are documentarians, women, made called The Women Who Run Hollywood. And it was about the women who started the film industry in the early part of the 20th century, before the Mayors, before the Goldwins, before all the men. It was the women. They were writing, producing, directing. There were studios that were women-owned and run, and then it all vanished from history. So I think that we've come a long way from vanishing from history, but there has to be more roles for women in all ages, not just 18 to 35.
Real life is variety.
Real life is variety.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. We have to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back. We're back with Lee Purcell, and joining us is Marie Mitchell.
Hello.
Thanks, Marie, for joining us.
Yes, of course, of course. I was listening to you backstage. What an
Yeah.
impressive life you have.
Oh, thank you.
I love
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to bring up, you have such an extensive background in all areas of entertainment. And I come from an entertainment background as well. My grandfather worked for William Morris, worked with
wow.
Natalie Wood, Elvis Presley.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
But he always would tell me, don't become jaded when I decided to get into this business.
Yeah, because it's easy to do that.
It's easy to do. So what mantra or what do you tell yourself as far as, your life and in your career as well?
I just always, because I came from nowhere, and I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody, not that I wouldn't have loved to, like you did. I would love to have had that. It would have really been nice. Although there are people who have and they still haven't been able to keep a career going. Right. And there's people like me who came out of nowhere and who somehow, I don't even know how, managed to survive and to have a long career.
Right.
And I think if anything, it's whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
That would be my mantra, whatever it takes.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's hard because, Hollywood is a difficult place because everyone is saying, I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
If I just move to town and I'm able to get a couple of auditions, I'm going to make it.
I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Everybody
Yeah.
says that. And then sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Or
Plan Bs.
more often than it does.
Yeah,
It does
gotta
not
have a
work
plan
out.
B.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What has your experience taught you the most? Your philosophy of your work and everything. Have you developed? A lot of times people will develop mantras just to keep going.
Motivation.
and they'll have it tattooed on their arm.
Exactly.
So you're like, oh my God, what's my mantra? Yeah.
Exactly. But what philosophies have you had to come up with just to navigate a career?
I never thought about what I wanted to do. I was just already doing it.
Yeah.
And then I just had to come someplace where there was more of it.
Right.
And so I came here, and then I went to London, and then I came back here. And like I said before, whatever it takes, right? But then also, a big one for me is you don't have to end up where you started.
True.
I never told anybody I was going to be an actress. I never did, because I knew better than to tell them that, because
What if you didn't?
I would have been humiliated. And so I just went off and did it. And but I think it's really important for people, young people, older people. You don't have to be stuck where you are. You can expand. You can move on. And I think it's important to once you know what you want to do, and that might change throughout your life. You know, it has for me. I mean, I have my base, which is acting, but then I also do other things, like you mentioned. But I think it's important to write things down. You know, write down what you want to do in life. And then you got to write down next, how are you going to do that? And you may not know at the time, right? But then you have to write down, I'm going to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And I think if you are very kind of methodical about that, I think it really, I think that will push you.
I love that.
Yeah. And when you do that, it is amazing how people show up in your life.
It is so amazing.
Some very key individuals showed up in
Yes.
your life at just
Yes.
the right pivotal moments. Talk
Yes.
to me about that.
Well, it's happened to me a few times, but I suppose that the biggest was the late great movie star Steve McQueen,
Amazing.
who was my friend and my mentor, and who hired me for my first role of any kind in a movie, but it was a starring role.
Wow.
And but it took a lot of work. It was 5 auditions, and and slowly because it started out with 500 girls, and it was a lot. Wow. And then they slowly culled the girls, and then it got down to 5 of us, and then I got the role. I was very so grateful, and I met him not my first 3 auditions, but I met him by I think not by chance, but it was a surprise to me because they didn't tell me I was going to be meeting him. And I got a call, because I was 3 auditions into this, and I was working on the 4th. And I got a call on a Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, and I was out gardening. I've always been a big gardener. My grandmother taught me how to garden. And I was out gardening. I was dirty, it was sweaty, it was hot. It was, it was spring, and I was planting. And, I think I'm a farmer at heart, really. But so I got a call from the studio, and they said, "Oh, we need you to come over." And I went, "Okay." And I thought, "Oh, they just want me to come over and pick up some more scenes, sides on paper." And I'll go over and I'll just go. I said, "Can I just take a shower?" And they said, "No, you have to come now." And I was like, "Oh,"
Okay.
I'm looking at my dirty nails and my stringy hair, and
Time to roll.
And I'm like, "Okay, I'll just go on over," right? And I went on over to the studio, and I thought, "Oh, this will be fine because there'll be nobody there. It's Saturday. I'm just going to run up the stairs, and I'm going to go to whoever's on security, and I'll pick up those sides, and I'll go home." So I park my beat up old car, and I run up the stairs, and there is Steve McQueen.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Hi." And he was like, "Oh, hi, I'm Steve." And I went, yeah, I know.
Everybody knows.
And because he was like, and at that time, he was like the Tom Cruise of the world. He was really something.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't nervous, or I was shocked because nobody had told me that this was what I was coming to the studio for. And I guess they had a reason for that.
Organic.
It was very organic. Yes. Oh my God, was it organic? And he said, "Come on back, let's talk." And I said, "Okay." And so we sat and we talked for about 3 hours.
Wow.
And it was just amazing because he was so down to earth, so real, and we just talked about everything, about growing up, and we had a lot of things in common, strangely enough. He rode motorcycles, I rode a motorcycle. He loved fast cars, I loved them, couldn't afford them, but I still love fast cars. And we just had a great time talking about life and philosophy and just all kinds of things. And then I left, and he was like, "Thank you so much, it was great," And I thought, things happen from the universe, I think. If you have a plan, if you have a goal, and it's truly yours, not something that somebody else has told you, right? I think that the universe just basically drops things in your lap.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
It shows up.
It does.
Yeah.
It does show up.
Thank you. We've got to take a commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. A little older. We're back with Lee Purcell and Marie Mitchell.
I just wanted to touch, you were mentioning that you were working on a new project coming out, a new film.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Tell me more about that. It's special in a way, right?
It's very
Close to your heart.
unique. It's called Plight. It's in the future, and it's a dystopian world by that time. There's no water, very little water. So there are wars over water. And I play twins.
Nice.
And that to me was very exciting to be, because I played multiple characters before. I did a play last year where I played 16 characters.
Oh my word.
Wow.
Yeah,
How do you keep track of that many characters?
It was really hard.
Yeah.
It's really, because some of them were men, some were women, children, different ages, different accents, and it was just me on stage doing 16 characters.
Wow.
It was great. But Plight, I play twins, and their first twin is a very much a maternal figure, and the second twin is a revolutionary. She's the leader of the resistance. She's a freedom fighter. She carries weapons. It's a great role.
Wow.
So it's really fun. It's really fun. And then I had the pleasure and the honor of working with 4 boys, young men actually. I hate to call them boys, but they are all on the autism spectrum. And they are playing boys, even though it's not made much of in the movie, right, which is great.
Yeah.
They are playing boys who are also on the spectrum.
Wow.
And they end up going on a very, very treacherous, very dangerous journey.
Fun.
What are you finding is your experience where they are autistic playing autistic characters?
Yeah.
What surprises, what confirmations are you seeing on set?
Everybody's different that I've ever worked with. And there's nobody that's the same, just like there's no people that are the same. And working with autistic people was different than working with a person who doesn't have autism. And working with a person with Down syndrome was different than working with autistic people.
Right.
I was taught to call it differently abled. Now, there's a lot of different catchphrases and titles, neurodivergent.
Right.
I do like differently abled because they are
able.
able in a different way.
Yep.
And very, really thrilling to work with.
I could see those roles being more organic, given, they're
Yes.
playing autistic children because they are autistic, but
Yes.
having that authentic, organic response.
It makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, a huge difference.
Yeah.
Not that people who are not differently abled cannot play people who are differently abled, and vice versa. I don't want my business and my art to become such that in order to play a murderer, you have to be a murderer.
Exactly.
Right?
We don't want that.
I don't want that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
No.
a good philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
I guess it is a good philosophy. I don't know about that. But I do think I think everybody should be able to play everything. If I can
agree.
play twins and 16 characters, then
Yeah.
I think people can do lots of different things.
Right.
Yeah. I wish we had time today. Of course, we don't, because this conversation goes so quick.
I know, I'm
I
sorry.
wish we had time to talk about what you're doing with the Hollywood Radio Players.
Oh yeah, me too, me too.
There's a special fund in Hollywood that you're also involved in.
Well, yes, Motion Picture and Television Fund takes care of our people in Southern California when they need it. And no matter what they do in the industry, the Motion Picture and Television Fund is there to help them. And I have, my partner and I, Michael Carnegie, my producing partner and I, we have done 11 shows. We do classic radio plays with a twist because we did them on Zoom. And they are fantastic, I must say. So if somebody wants to go to our plays, they benefit. We don't make any money. All the money goes to MPTF, Motion Picture and Television Fund.
That's awesome.
And we have a YouTube channel, which is Hollywood Radio Players, period. And then we have a website, which is hollywoodradioplayers.com. And you can watch our shows, you can watch them for free. But if you want to donate, if you're in a position to donate, you can donate no matter how large, how small, and it's all tax deductible. And it helps people in Southern California because we've been hit hard. My industry, our industry, has been hit very hard with the pandemic first, and then we had double strikes, and now we've had a downturn in the industry. So people have had a tremendous need in paying their rent, paying their mortgage. I mean, even during the pandemic, they were getting bags of groceries. I mean, so MPTF.
What a great cause to support. Thank you so much for joining us here on Lifestyle.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure.
Oh, it's definitely all our pleasure. Thank you so much for spending your time.
Yes.
We got to take a break, but please come back. I have some really helpful words to help you live your best life. Let's take a moment to talk about something that matters deeply. Seeing the value in people who are different from us, especially those with autism or on the spectrum. Did you know research from the CDC and Harvard shows that individuals with autism often excel in areas like memory, attention to detail, and creative problem solving? These aren't deficits, they're gifts. But those gifts often go unseen because we're too focused on what's normal instead of what's beautifully unique. Here's your call to action. Get curious. Start a conversation. Include someone who's been left out. Read a book or watch a documentary about neurodiversity. Let your home, your workplace, and your heart be a place where every kind of mind is welcome. Because when we make space for different kinds of brilliance, we don't just help others shine, we light up the whole world. You can be the difference. Let's build a world where every mind matters. Don't forget that you can find exclusive content on all of our guests. Check us out on social media using the handle Lifestyle with Roy.